In the article that I had sent to you guys, it was about self-directed IEP meetings, and it was a study conducted by ARN to review the student participation using a self-directed IEP series from ChoiceMaker. So the study worked with 5 high school students, and all students had IEPs and were receiving support since the primary grades. And it broke down 10 different lessons into 3 units where they kind of covered different components of the IEP. And the way it was taught was they would provide an introduction and review the previous lesson. They would then preview what they're going to learn that day, introduce the new vocabulary that comes with that lesson, and then watch a video demonstration done by Zeke, who would kind of demonstrate for the students what they would be doing in their IEP meeting. It would then give them a chance to discuss the video as a class, some guided practice, and some role play with the teachers, and then evaluate their skill knowledge. Then you can also open up the discussion by asking students how they can use this information. So this is an example of the teacher prompt that they used for the IEP meetings. This would kind of prompt the student and they would lead it, but these were just some stating questions. So you would refer to the student to be the leader. So the first one obviously is begin the meeting. Student name, please state the purpose of this meeting. And then the student would do so. And so they've learned this script within the curriculum so that the teacher, once he or she said this, the student would then be prompted to review what they were taught. This is some data collection for one of the students. You can see that it's broken down into the 3 different units. On the very far left was their actual IEP meeting that took place and kind of their level of participation at that meeting. And then you see the 3 mock trials after that. And the 3 mock trials were just with the teacher and with some other staff members to kind of review what they would be doing. And then after that, they would hold the real IEP covering that specific unit. And as you can see, these students made significant growth from their baseline data to the end. So data was collected throughout and the participation was higher. So this study was shown to be really productive and positive for students involved within the IEP process. These were some quotes from the students from the article that said, I didn't know that I could do this. Now I sort of know how. And I've been to my IEP meeting but didn't really understand all that stuff. Now I know more. So in providing our students with a voice and teaching them the different components of the IEP and to take charge of their education, it allows for them to grow in the area of self-advocacy. Students who have higher levels of self-determination and advocacy skills show positive post-school outcomes on education within employment. And then this is a video just based on some student-led IEP meetings. We're not going to watch the whole thing, just about like 5 minutes.
By incorporating self-determination skills and self-advocacy lessons into the curriculum, students are now being taught about their disabilities to help them recognize their individual learning barriers and also help them discover ways to overcome them. During the lesson, students also prepare to lead their IEP meetings. In the past, only parents, teachers, and administrators played a key role in the meetings, and if students attended, they were only silent observers. In this IEP meeting, all eyes are on Madison, and she wouldn't have it any other way. Madison loves being the center of attention for those she loves dearly.
You may not know that I like my family so much.
She does like her family so much.
Madison is now learning more about herself, her strengths, and her weaknesses.
I have learned to count money. I am good at facsimiles. I can add and subtract.
She loves the spotlight. She loves to be the center of attention. So it's great not only to have that aspect, but also to be talking about her educational goals.
Hey, everybody, guess what? My birthday's coming up, and I'm turning 12 for my birthday.
After seeing her in the IEP meeting leading it, she really was in her element, and I think she has kind of taken ownership of her goals and knows that what we talk about is being carried out in the classroom.
The results of incorporating self-determination and self-advocacy skills have not only broadened students' understanding of the way they learn and the accommodations they receive, but has also been an eye-opener for parents, teachers, and administrators who were somewhat hesitant of the new plan.
I think it's been a great process. I'll have to say, when I first received the invitation, I went to my husband. I was just very apprehensive. I think at one point it's hard. You want to be so protective of all your kids, but at some point she's going to have to be a self-advocate.
We were a little concerned about our first graders, especially with them talking about their disabilities and maybe it hurting their self-esteem. I think their self-esteem was actually boosted rather than torn down.
Things I need to work on. Language, asking for help when I need it.
Shelby is a 5th grade student who loves learning more about herself, setting goals, and discovering ways to ask for help when she's struggling.
Make sure I take my time and not rush me. It helps me because I can focus and see what I'm learning, what I need to focus on in my tests and in my reading and everything. I'm becoming a better reader now.
Teachers work together creating lesson plans designed to not only educate, but also empower students to learn and utilize strategies designed to help them rise above learning challenges. Every small step is worth celebrating.
The students started realizing their strengths and their weaknesses, and they were able to use that to their advantage when they were in the classroom.
They were very excited to learn how to speak in public, to be able to express themselves, to know what their accommodations were, to know what their goals were, and to be able to set steps to reach their own goals. And it was very easy to incorporate it into the curriculum. And so I realized that I didn't have to sacrifice the curriculum or their self-advocacy, that they could be working on both simultaneously.
Any doubts teachers had were quickly changed after seeing students become excited about investing in their own future and taking ownership of their learning and goals.
My doubts are completely changed. At times, students may not realize, they think, I just can't do this, and that word can't is embedded in their head, and they don't realize it's not that they can't do it, it's that they need assistance and able to do it.
You're getting out of the idea of a child with disabilities into looking at just meeting kids where they are and setting goals.
Students take pride in creating their own IEP PowerPoint presentations to share with family, friends, and teachers they invite.
When they were talking about what they were able to do, they're like, I want teachers to know that I'm a better reader now than I was at the beginning of the year. And you were like, yes. So they totally took it as a challenge of don't tell me I have a disability. I'm not disabled. I struggle with it, but I'm working on it, which was awesome to see.
Prior to the student-led IEP meetings, we had a group of adults in a room talking about a student. And we didn't always know if that was in the best interest of the student because we never had the student's perspective.
So Ryan, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
For Ryan Holcomb's family, this innovative format has changed their whole perception of IEP meetings.
What do you think about your parents coming here?
It's awesome. It makes me feel good.
What used to be described as a somewhat intimidating process is now more inviting for parents.
Cooking, cleaning, money, and ringing.
Administrators enjoy seeing an increase in parent attendance during IEP meetings, a crucial element for student success.
I have felt in the past that it's very overwhelming when you come into an IEP meeting and there are 2 of you and maybe 8 of the teachers around the table, and you almost feel like you've been ganged up on.
Well, him having an active part makes us that much more interested because we're watching him express what he's working on, what he thinks he's succeeding at, and I think it's another step towards independence for him.
Thank you for coming to my IEP. Thank you.
I think it's very important that the kids are involved in this process for themselves because parents may not always be around for them. And they have to learn how to advocate and say, this is good for me or this is bad for me. Independence is a goal most parents hope.
So after watching that and after hearing, I think my biggest thing was hearing the parents say it was overwhelming for them. They would walk in and there would be 2 of them and 8 teachers and you feel like you're getting ganged up on. And I think that that's how a lot of parents feel, but then having their child there and kind of explain it out to them and then having staff just revisit those topics and talk about a little bit more about it in depth is really helpful. But after you've done your IEP, you can still include your students and the parents. So now what? After a student's IEP meeting, it's important to remain in contact with the parents. Maintaining this communication will assist with any follow-up meetings that may occur. So continue to remain in contact with the family, continue to communicate with them. Communication will go so far and only lay such a beneficial foundation for your next IEP meeting. And also involve your students in the data collection process. By having your students self-monitor their progress within the classroom, they take ownership of their learning and their actions. So self-advocacy, when you're teaching these students about the IEP process, it's not like you've taught them it and now you're done. You have to then teach them how to apply those skills in the classroom. How can you help them track their progress? We use the Wilson curriculum a lot for some of my students, and in Wilson, it helps them self-monitor. They watch their reading progress. How can you also do that with your students' IEP goals? Involve them in it. Have them track their progress. Have them track it through coloring, through a computer, through a sticker chart, anything that's motivating for them, because once they see their progress increase, they know that they're the ones who did that. And once they take ownership, you'll notice them continuing to want to make progress within the classroom. Also, encourage your students to become aware of their accommodations and how to advocate for themselves while in class. They'll become aware of how to speak to professionals regarding the tools that they need to be successful. I had a student of mine who one of his accommodations was left out by a teacher when he was taking a math test. And he went home and he had told his parents they forgot my extra time. And so I went up to him, and so the parents had emailed the teacher, and the teacher asked me, and I said, well, yeah, it's on there, but he knows it's on there too. The teacher had been given a copy of the IEP, and I think it was just forgotten in the short of time. But I went up to my student and I said, how come you didn't say anything? How come you didn't tell him, hey, I have extra time? And he didn't really know how to answer that. And I realized kind of in that moment, our students don't know how to advocate for the things they need in the moment if they're not given the proper support to do so. So that's where we come into play. And that's why we have to make sure that our students are constantly being assisted and helped and supported within the classroom. And it's our job to teach them those skills.